Have you ever heard or experienced a situation where somebody is trying to do something bad to you, right? But instead of happening to you, it happens to them. Okay, so for instance, maybe somebody tries to mess up your car, that something bad happens, you get into an accident, and it happens to them instead. Or let's say maybe somebody tries to get you evicted, and instead of you being evicted, they're facing eviction. It's really funny, but it happens. But if you've ever heard or or experienced it, it's something called a return to sender. So let's talk about how this is possible. Hi, welcome back to Isadora. It's really great to be back. Hope you're having a good week. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been viewing the channel, welcome back. So I want to talk about return to sender today, right? And I have to make this quite quick, and it's going to be a bit technical, so I will be showing some illustrations behind me, so hopefully it works. Anyway, so you can achieve this through prayer. Now, don't get me wrong, not everybody prays, right, or knows how to pray. If you can't pray, speak positively. Do you understand? And if you see, I always recommend our Lord's Prayer. It's in the Christian religion, but you see why I like our Lord's Prayer is because it's not denomination based. It's not for Muslims or Christians or whatever it is. Do you understand? It's directly speaking to God. Do you understand? Directly, without really mentioning any. So I tend to like it. I recommend it. But anyway, it's something called prayer, right? But prayer is just a fraction of it. There's really a science behind a return to sender, right? So that's what I really wanted to talk about. So let's break it out, right? Okay, so as human beings, we look like this, right? Almost see-through, that you can almost like pierce through. Now, originally we look like that, without the skin, without the flesh. Do you understand? The skin is just like a covering that gives us an identity, right, in the world. So so as human beings, we look like this originally, and with our skin we look like this, right? Now, when we start to pray a lot, like I said, if you can't pray, speak positively. But when you do this consistently, so today I will be focusing a lot on the Christian religion. Like I always say, it's what I resonate with. So it's easier for me to pull out examples from there. So anyway, when you start to pray a lot, you start to, instead of looking like this, you start to look like this. Now, to the naked eye, to the outside world, you would still kind of look like this, but you will notice certain things. Let me give you an example. It was a while ago in my place of worship, right? There was a lady that was talking to a few of us, and she said that at that time in her life, she had started to pray a lot. And one day she was at the train station and she was trying to get a train to work, and there was this little kid with her mom, and the kid tapped her and said, tapped her mom and said, "Mom, look at that lady, she looks like an angel." Right? You know how kids are really innocent and they have more of a direct contact kind of thing with God. Anyway, so because they're almost sin free, right? So anyway, so the lady actually tapped her mom and said, "Look at that lady, she looks like an angel." And she said she was really surprised, that because what she had started doing at the time was actually praying a lot. She then went on to say that during that time, what would happen is a lot of people, she was getting a lot of stares from people. Like, people were really staring at her, like almost kind of like staring at her like, who is this, like maybe it was almost as if she was shining, so to speak. Anyway, so that's just an example. So the more we pray, the more we look like this, almost like see-through, which is really our spirit. Like I said, the flesh is just the covering. Anyway, so there can also be a flip side to that. Like, if it's, and the flip side is not people that don't pray. There's nothing wrong. If you don't pray, you look like this. It's not the end of the world. But there's a flip side to that, right? And the flip side is, see, generally we look like this, right? So let me give an example to that flip side. There was a day I went to visit a friend of mine that just got back from the States, I think. So I was with another lady, and we went to visit this person. So we're there, we partied and we gisted and everything. We had fun, and we wanted to leave. So that person, my friend that got back, was saying, "Oh, please, you guys don't go. I'm really enjoying your company and stuff." Do you understand? So Anyway, but we had to leave. So I said, okay, you know what, we can do it again tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow. I will spend time with you. So we left. So the following day, we had planned it all out, and the place was a bit, I'm trying to rush through because I can see the time is, and the place was a bit far from where I lived. So we're planned and we're almost there. Now, I didn't want to drive because it was a bit late. So I think we planned to meet for like 7 or 8 p.m. or something. So we were in a taxi and we're almost there. And I'd called my friend and said, okay, we're almost at yours, blah, blah, blah. And my friend had said to me, oh, what about the lady that was with you yesterday? Is that person still with you? And I said, yes. And she was like, no, I'm sorry. You can't come to my house with that person. Now, I know that this friend of mine is really sound in prayers, right? So then my friend said, oh, I'm sorry, you can't come to my house with that person. I said, why? Keep in mind, I was on the phone. So I said, why? And she was like, no. There's just something really dark about that person. That person is just really dark. I don't like her. Any other person, I know your other friends, I don't mind. But this person in particular, there's just something off. There's just something very dark about her and I don't want her to come to my house. I hope you don't mind. I'm really sorry. And at the time, I didn't even understand it. So I dropped the phone and I'm like, okay. So the lady with me was like, oh, what happened? I said, oh, we have to reschedule and go another day. And the lady kind of just went quiet and said, oh, it's really about me, isn't it? And to be honest, there was no obvious, my friend didn't make it obvious the day before, so there's no way she could have known about it or heard me or heard her through the phone. So I said, why did you say that? She said, I just feel like it's because of me. Now that made me realize it's happened before. Now, what that person was really referring to is this. Now, you know all the deadly sins, right? Like lying, don't lie, greed, sloth, envy, anger, all those things. These things, what they really are spirits. Okay, it might look like I'm talking too much, so let me break it down. If you go into 1 Kings 22, right, there was a prophet that was trying to give a message to King Ahab, and the prophet had said to King Ahab, God will put a lying spirit in all the mouths of the prophets so that King Ahab, they can deceive him and he can go out to war. Do you understand? So that goes to show that all those things are spirits, right? Now, if a person so imagine a person that looks like this, right? Now has a lying spirit on them. So that would look like that. Don't forget, originally we look like this, which is like our spirit body. But this is like a good spirit, right? So it's like whitish. Now this is more of a negative, dark spirit, right? So it's like dark. So imagine a person that is a liar, has a lying spirit on them. The same person is greedy, has the spirit of greed on them. The same person is has wrath, has anger issues, has the spirit of anger in them. The same person is slothful, has the spirit of slothfulness on them. So imagine, even if it's just one, what happens that these things are covering your light, they're covering your aura, if that makes any sense. And somebody looking in from the outside would say that person is dark. You know, sometimes you just meet some people and they're just off, they just feel dark. It's not that you can see anything physically, it's just because their aura is being covered by so many things. Do you understand? So at the time, like I said, I didn't even understand what the lady was thinking. What does she mean she's dark? I spent time with her, there's nothing wrong, you know. So like I said, sometimes you see people and they just feel off and feel dark and everything. So that's what it is. They've got like one or two attachments to them. These things are called attachments. So it could be lying, it could be greed, it could be envy, it could be, now imagine somebody that has like all those things in them. That person is like a dark sort of person, if that makes any sense. Now, so, and unforgiveness, all those things are all part of it, you understand? So it makes me laugh because initially I didn't quite understand it when they would say, oh, forgive those that have offended you. Oh, don't be envious. Oh, don't be this, don't be that. I didn't quite understand the importance of it because I used to think that, okay, you're doing it for other people. No, the truth is you're actually doing it for yourself. It's for your own good. It's going to help you in the long run. Now, let's start over. Like I said, this is a bit technical. Now, so when you release, all those things. You release envy, you release anger, you release unforgiveness, you release this, you release that. You tend to look like this, right? If you now start to pray a lot, you tend to look like this. Does that make any sense? Okay, now, so this is where it's for your own good. Now, imagine somebody comes, let's say shoots an arrow at you. When I say arrow, it might be tell lies on you, mess up with your car, trying to get you evicted, just does something negative to you, but let's call it arrows, right? It's like weapons formed against you. Anyway, so let's call it an arrow. That weapon, it could be weapon of lies, it could be weapon of backbiting, it could be weapon of gossip, it could be weapon of slander, it could be weapon of malice, whatever weapon. So let's say somebody comes and throws a weapon at you. Now, if you don't pray, and you will look like this, it's easy for it to hit. Why? Because that flesh is covering, do you understand? There's a blockage, so it can hit. Now, let me go. If you pray a lot and somebody throws a weapon at you, what happens? Because it's almost see-through, it goes right through you, right? Now, there's a saying that goes, like, a lot of people don't believe in karma, wages of sin, whatever it is. People just believe that I'll do something bad and nothing bad will happen to me. Yes, sometimes nothing bad happens, but it really depends on who you're doing it to. Do you understand? And it's not that nothing bad happens. It just may not happen in a big way. It might not be a big deal, depending on who you're dealing with, right? If you're dealing with somebody that has a lot of, that looks like this, that has a lot of attachments to them, it will hit. So it's not coming back to you. It will hit because there's a lot. Now, don't forget, these attachments, right, are like spirits as well. Do you understand? So it will go through them and hit you because you have the flesh. Now, if you're dealing with somebody that prays a lot, they're like see-through. It will go through. Now, when it goes through, it starts to roam around because it has to hit somewhere, right? It has to hit. Now, what happens is that, imagine another example, right? When some people fast and pray, like they're going through issues and they start fasting and they start praying and they let go of all the bad behaviors and everything, do you understand? They start to look like this, especially sometimes they say, okay, 3 days drive fast and prayer, blah, 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 blah. What that thing does is make you look more like this, right? So, and all those weapons fall through because they look like this. It can't stay. There's no skin, there's no flesh for it to stick. So it goes through them, it falls through. And all that weapon falls through them, right? So it goes away, goes away, goes away. Now, I think there's a part in the Bible where it says when you sweep your house clean or something, make sure that it's not empty because those spirits will look for like 7 more wicked spirits to come and dwell in there. So what happens is when you fasted and pray and everything and you look like this, you should maintain that lifestyle, maintain that prayer lifestyle, maintain that not being greedy, not being envious, not being unforgiving, maintain that so that you continue to look like this. But what happens with a lot of people is they tend to, once they finish the program and everything and things are now rosy, they tend to start to go back to their previous behaviors, which is either unforgiveness, which is either anger, which is either not praying, which is, so they start to look like this again. Does that make sense? So they start to look like this again. Now, when that weapon roams around, do you understand? It looks for where to hit. It doesn't find anywhere to hit. Then it starts to return. If it finds you like this, no, let me go with this first. If it finds you like this, it will hit on its way back. So it's gone away before. It went through you before, but on its way back, you're now looking like this. So it will hit because it has to come back. Do you understand? What comes around goes around. It's a universal law. It has to come back because it's gone through. That weapon has to hit somewhere. So if it's not hitting you that it was sent to, it will roam and roam and roam around looking for where to hit. Nowhere to hit, it would return back because it has to go back. Now, if you look like this, on its way back, it will hit. So sometimes people fast and pray and everything, right? And be mindful of the time. People fast and pray and everything, and things start to work out. But after a few months or a few years, it looks like it goes back again. Because on its way back, you've gone back to your previous ways and it's hit you. Now, if you remain like this, prayerful, and you maintain that lifestyle, on its way back, it will go through you again because you're pretty much see-through, right? It has to return to where it came from. And that way it goes right back to the person that sent it, right? And that's what is called a return to sender. So rather than that bad stuff happen to you, it goes right back and happens to the person that sent it to you instead. I'm way out of time. I love you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Namaste. Bye.